Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Oh, you better believe it is on! Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another very exciting and extreme episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And on this episode, let me tell you, we have had several crazy news, we have had several crazy animation news, and I pretty much had to go and pick and choose which ones would be the best ones to go and talk about. And let me tell you, this is gonna be an episode where we are gonna be watching some trailers, we are gonna be discussing some controversial news, and there is nothing in here that we are gonna be holding back on. We are just gonna go full forward and straight at it with them. And by the way, before I go and get things started, I would just like to start out and say I do want to share my respects to the people living in California and the western part of America, because currently right now there have been several earthquakes that have been happening, and I do wish them all to be safe, because apparently reports have stated that the earthquakes are very extreme, like they are very serious and very big, and they can cause some major disasters. So that's why I'm hoping everyone in that region can stay safe, and I do wish them the best. So with that said and done, now it is time that we can go and start things off with this podcast. So I would like to begin by asking the chat wall right now, is everybody ready to go and get things started with today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks, because oh man, this is gonna be exciting, I can tell you that. Let's see now, do we have people ready now? Let's see now. Yep. Oh, and apparently someone is saying that very soon we're gonna have the Mulan trailer soon. Oh wow, that's earlier than I expected. Okay, well, that's gonna be for next episode though. But anyways, yes, apparently everybody is ready. We can go and get things started. Oh, but you know what? Speaking of trailers, we might as well go and start things off with that. And we're going to be talking about a couple of trailers that we have received. However, these are actually trailers of movies we have already talked about in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. However, with these trailers, they have shown a little bit more about their respective movie and showing a little bit more. And my first impressions of them, well, I had a bit more of a wait-and-see attitude with these films, but hopefully things can change with these trailers right over here. So first things first, let us go ahead and start with our first trailer by checking out the trailer of Blue Sky's upcoming animated feature, Spies in Disguise. So with that said, let's go ahead and check it out.
I need you to unbird me, Walter.
Technically, you birded yourself.
Oh, I'm hurt this boy.
Okay, so, yeah, that was Spies in Disguise, Blue Sky's next animated feature that apparently we are going to be having on Christmas. Now, if I could start things off with my thoughts on the first trailer, honestly, I was just absolutely confused, because it was the first time that I was introduced to the full premise of what this movie is about, which is apparently Will Smith is going to turn into a pigeon. That seems to be the main thing going on. Oh, and you also have Tom Holland on the side. So that seems to be the whole idea. That's why you would want to go see Spies in Disguise, is to see Will Smith in an animated film and somehow he turned himself into a pigeon. That's the main idea. That's the main plot. And when I saw that trailer, I felt absolutely confused. I just didn't know how to handle it. I was just like, that seems to be the idea that they want to go with. That's the main selling point. And to me, it was just tough to figure out, is this even a good idea? Is this even a bad idea? Would this make a good movie? Would this not? I don't know. I just felt absolutely lost when watching it, because that's the one thing I did remember from the first trailer, is just feeling absolutely confused. But now I do have a bit of a clear answer of how this movie is going to be. Now I see a little bit more about the outcome of this feature. And I'm not gonna lie, I see this and I feel like, yeah, this is gonna freaking suck. I mean, honestly, I feel like this is mediocre at best. Like, with the trailer that I have received right now, it's gonna be tough for me to imagine if it would even get up to the level of good. Because here's the thing with this trailer, like, my biggest problem with it is the fact that I feel like it doesn't necessarily introduce me that much to anything that's going on in the movie. I feel like it's delivering us a bit of the same of what we had before. That this is about Will Smith, who's like this international super spy, and he teams up with Tom Holland at some point, and somehow he ends up becoming a pigeon. That seems to be the whole thing. We've already got that in the last trailer, and now we got it in this one as well. And what seems to be strange, though, is the fact that apparently its main selling point really is the stars of the movie. It's not the spy element, and it's not necessarily what the animators can do with the animation. It's mostly the factor that this is a Will Smith and Tom Holland family comedy. And let's go and take a look at these characters individually. Well, first of all, you got Lance Sterling, who is played by Will Smith. And basically what we got here is Will Smith being Will Smith. Not too different than what we've already had with the live-action remake of Aladdin. So, of course, considering how Aladdin right now is such a huge hit, it's not necessarily that surprising that they want to use Will Smith as a major marketing campaign for Spies in Disguise, to show that if you still want more of that family-friendly comedic charm of Will Smith, then you can also get it in Spies of Disguise. And considering how Disney bought Fox, this is another Disney product. In fact, you know, one thing that I will say is honestly a bit weird is that I remember when I was on Facebook this week, I saw Disney was actually advertising this trailer for Spies in Disguise. And like, I saw it in the comments and I felt the same way as well, that it was just weird. Disney is promoting a blue sky film. Like, I know about the whole deal and everything like that, but it's still something that I have yet to fully get used to, and I have yet to have that image. You know, I have yet to get the image to get used to it, to see the blue sky logo and the Disney logo at the same time. It's a little bit of a weird thing, but going back into this, yes, you're basically in here, Spies of Disguise, you're getting Will Smith as Will Smith. And then you got Tom Holland's character, Walter Beckett. Walter here apparently seems to be the amateur rookie spy. Well, maybe not necessarily a spy. He's kind of like the amateur inventor, like the guy who aspires to be like in the big leagues in the spy world with his gadgets. Like, he wants to be the Q of this spy world in this case. And holy crap, so far in this trailer, Walter is freaking annoying. Like, honestly, I don't think there is a single joke in this that I even laughed at. And especially with freaking Tom Holland. Honestly, the cringiest part would have to be, like, in the elevator scene where he tries to, like, convince Will Smith with, like, the kind of gadgets that he has, or, like, his big ambitious project. You know, this...
Disappear.
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 Why are you saying it like that?
For effect.
Yes, for effect. But it's not funny. It makes you annoying. And that's the big thing that I got from Walter in this, is the fact that they really want to try to sell hard that he has this wacky, eccentric personality, you know, this bright-eyed kid who's full of optimism and like kind of a dreamer who always tries hard, but you know, kind of geeky, kind of over the top. I just feel like, honestly, we've already had plenty of those kinds of characters in animated films and in family films in the first place, and this one over here, I just feel like it was just annoying, honestly. I just feel like throughout the whole thing, it just gave, like, if anything, this really gave me a very bad first impression of Walter, and it like, honestly, it's because of that character that I start to feel like I'm having low expectations whatsoever. Now, to the movie's credit, I'm not saying that everything in this trailer is so far hopeless that it just feels like it's absolutely bad. I will give it credit that it did start out pretty well. And this is something that I always do admire with Blue Sky films, is that, yeah, even though, like, they do have a bit of a reputation that their writing is always mediocre at best, the animation, like, especially at the beginning, with all the action scenes, that actually does look pretty cool. Like, when you actually get into the spy element of Spies in Disguise, that's actually a lot of fun. And even with some of the new additions that you got here, like, what looks like, Will Smith is in a Japanese environment and he's breaking out of that giant aquarium, and then, like, you kind of have a little bit of a montage of Kill Bill where he's surrounded by these henchmen, and like, suddenly, like, you got the sword that's just like going just over Will Smith. Like, that I have to admit, that was actually pretty cool. And one positive thing that I would expect from this movie is that it's going to deliver us some pretty cool animation. There will be some great visual moments. I can guarantee you that. I just hope that the focus can be a little bit more on that instead of the dumb buddy comedy duo that we got with Will Smith and Tom Holland, where Tom Holland is the goofball and Will Smith is going to be like the straight man in this scenario. In fact, that's the one thing that I would also massively criticize in terms of Spies in Disguise, is that I do wish that they would have advertised a little bit more of the spy element than the comedy element with its main stars, because this is cool. Like, if you want to give me a spy movie, give me more of the action, give me more of the animation, show me more of the cool things that you're going to do with Lance Sterling, even if it requires, like, the action scenes with Will Smith as a pigeon. Like, at least give me something. Show me how this movie can be fun, because honestly, with the element of Will Smith and Tom Holland, I'm not getting that at all. So honestly, overall, I would say that this trailer is giving me very low expectations when it comes to Spies in Disguise. I'm not expecting it to be like the worst animated film of the year. Like, I'm not saying that this is immediately going to be in the ranks of something like Ugly Dolls or Wonder Park, but I'm not expecting anything great out of this either. And also, I just want to make one more comment that a lot of people have pointed out that seems a little bit weird. And, like, even me, when I saw this trailer, like, I had to wonder, and we gotta go and we have to ask this. Like, like, hold on, where is it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this little weird moment. Yeah, so, like one of Will Smith's hands just becomes tiny, and we know what's happening. Like, this is the process that Will Smith is going to be transforming into a pigeon. Why does he have to look down at his freaking pants? Like, what is this image? Like, I have to wonder, like, I wonder why, though. That's one thing I would like to ask the animators at Blue Sky. It's just, I want to point at this image and I want to ask, why? Like, when you're transforming into a pigeon, like, do you have to check your pants? It's like, is my thing still there? I don't know. Like, why? Oh, God. It's just, this image. I don't know. I feel like Oh my god, like, maybe, I'm wondering, like, maybe I could use this as the thumbnail for when the review comes out. It's just, like, honestly, this is, like, already, Will Smith turning into a pigeon is weird and confusing enough, but then you have this image alone, it's just like, okay, we need to add that extra layer of weirdness that in order to make sure you become a pigeon, first you also got to make sure if your hand becomes tiny, then you got to check your pants. I don't know. But then again, I will say this. I could be wrong with what I'm saying here. There is a very strong possibility that the movie will be released and it will blow away my expectations, and it could turn out to be a pretty good film. And I do hope that is actually the case. Maybe the film could turn out to be a lot stronger than how the trailer is presenting it. But overall, just based on this trailer that I'm seeing, yeah, I don't have any big expectations on it. I just feel very underwhelmed. I am not amused by the comedy style that they want to try out with Will Smith and Tom Holland. It's just, I don't have any big expectations, and all I'm expecting is that this is going to be mediocre at best. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess we'll wait and see when the movie does come out on Christmas of this year. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask, what do you guys think about this trailer of Spies in Disguise? Are you a little bit more optimistic than me about it? Do you guys want to check this out? Are you a bit disappointed? Do you not want to check it out? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so let's see. Oh, fudge nabbit, we got an entire crowd here that's just ready to go and talk about this. Okay, anyways, let's go and organize this whole thing. Let's see. Honestly, I wasn't too keen on this film at first, but now it looks really fun. The spy action is top-notch. I'm kind of warming up to Lance Sterling's design. Will Smith and Tom Holland have great dynamics so far, and the comedy, particularly Lance checking on his top priority, isn't groundbreaking, but still quite good. It's quite ironic that I'm talking about a Tom Holland movie right now, since I literally just got out of a Tom Holland movie. Ah, so you checked out Far From Home, I see. Okay, well, surprisingly enough, we got one that's more optimistic. Who knows, maybe it is just me after all. This movie has been getting delayed a lot. First, it was coming out in March, then September, and thanks to the Fox-Disney merger, it's now in December. As for the trailer, on the outside, I'm thinking it sounds good, but my head keeps telling me it's gonna be bad. And if Disney plans on giving Blue Sky Animation lessons on how to make good films, they better start now. And it's weird how big a company like Disney could tutor their animation rival. In fact, Disney is better off tutoring DreamWorks and other companies and stuff like that. Well, I mean, they are in a position now, but you gotta remember back then, like, actually about more than 10 years ago, we would be saying a bit of the opposite, that Pixar should be teaching in fact, I think Pixar did actually taught Disney when making, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but when making Chicken Little, Pixar had to come in and help Disney out in terms of making an animated feature and know like how to do the proper steps in making a computer animated feature film, because it was their first venture into exiting hand-drawn animation and just going straight into making a fully computer animated film. Yes, there was Dinosaur, but this is the first time that's like now really in home that, you know, they want to be a computer animation studio. All right, anyways, going back to, let's see some of the other ones. I'm not very happy about this movie. Will Smith was first the genie and now a pigeon. What's next? I have low expectations for this movie. I also hope Tom Holland does better when he's acting with Chris Pratt in Onward. Yeah, that is true, actually. I mean, I like, even if we don't really have a whole lot regarding Tom Holland's character in Onward, I feel like that trailer, even though I'm still a bit iffy, like, I still want to give it a chance. I still have a stronger feeling about it than this one right over here. Like, at least Tom Holland's character, he doesn't pass off as, like, annoying, even though that, ironically enough, in Onward, Tom Holland is more like the straight man, where Chris Pratt is acting more like the goofball, where in here, Tom Holland is more the goofball and the more wacky type of character, where Lance Sterling is more the straight man in this case. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? I like this trailer. I'll agree that Tom Holland is annoying in this movie, but the movie still has some promise with Will Smith being good, and the animation and action is spot on. But don't worry about this being a hit at the box office, because there's a lot of people who will be checking out Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Danny DeVito and Star Wars around the same time. Yeah, that is definitely true. And I mean, like, this is not necessarily the first time that Blue Sky decided to go and do this. Like, Ferdinand, for example, it didn't really make that much money, and that film was released, ironically enough, right at the same time as something like this. It was released right at the same time as a Star Wars movie and a Jumanji movie. And now we're getting the same thing right over here. A Blue Sky film is being released at the same time as a Star Wars film and a Jumanji film. So I guess history is repeating itself. And if history does repeat itself, then I'm not expecting all that much from this. All right, let's see. I gotta say, this trailer was outrageous. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was the first time seeing this on Twitter, but I retweeted and commented on this. I am very happy to seeing this. Although, why was he surprised that he is looking at his pants to become the thumbnail? Who knows? All right, let's see. I'll go and read one more now. Even before seeing this trailer and the studio who made it, to me, it felt like an independent film rather than Blue Sky. After Will Smith checking down his pants, that immediately turned me off. Also, Walter wants me. Walter wants to make me punch him in the face. Or no, like with effect. Makes me. Walter wants to make me punch him in the face. I don't blame you there, dude. Okay, so we do have a bit of mixed reactions, but I'm actually surprised to see that there are some positive reactions to it. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe I could be wrong on this, but again, we will have to wait and see when the film will be coming out this Christmas. There we go. And now it is time that we shall go and jump onto our next story. And with our next story, what we got here is indeed another trailer. And this is on a movie that at first I thought, oh, okay, well, it's actually pretty cute. We'll wait and see how it goes. I mean, it's simple. It doesn't have an original story, but, you know, it looks like it could be fun. Maybe we will get a little bit more out of it when we check out the second trailer for Shaun the Sheep Movie, Farmageddon. So let's go ahead and check this one out. Okay, so that was the trailer for Shaun the Sheep Movie, Farmageddon. I wonder where is the just want to get the title. There we go. So yes, that was the trailer of this movie. And I will say right now, I think the first thing that I just want to go and bring up is actually regarding the story itself. And I might as well go and begin with some of the narratives, because I do understand that this is not necessarily a perfect movie, or at the very least, so far from what we are seeing, it doesn't seem like it will be a perfect movie. Because the narrative so far, yeah, it's just like what I said before. This is basically an E.T. clone. This is basically, if you take Shaun the Sheep, you just insert in the plot of E.T., and that's exactly what you get. It's not necessarily all that different from E.T., and it's not necessarily all that different from any of the other movies that have the same kind of story like E.T., like The Iron Giant or Mac and Me and movies like that. However, one thing I will say, though, is that execution is everything. Because even if you do have a good concept, like, if you don't have the execution, then you got nothing. Even if you have a bad concept, as long as you have a good execution, then you can actually have a good movie. Case in point, take a look at Spies in Disguise. with Spies in Disguise, it does sound like it will be interesting. You got Will Smith as like this famous spy, and then suddenly he's turned into a pigeon. But so far with the execution that we got with the trailers, it is not convincing at all, and at least for me, it doesn't seem like it'll come out as a good movie. Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon, however, the thing is that the plot, it sounds original. It doesn't sound like it has something special to go and deliver in terms of the idea of this movie. But oh my god, the execution is freaking hilarious. I think this is actually a much better trailer than what we got last time, because the first trailer that we have received, that one just felt like, okay, it's cute, it looks like it will be enjoyable, maybe nothing too special, but, it looks like something that kids can enjoy and adults can have a bit of a good time with. But after seeing this, wow, this is honestly pretty clever. Like, I saw in the chat wall there are some people that are a little bit annoyed with the narrator, but I know for a fact that we're not going to be getting that in the actual movie. That's just for the case of the trailer itself and to try to deliver it onto the market, rather it be in the UK or in North America and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a trailer thing only. Don't worry. The narrator aspect, it's not going to be there at all. But the comedy in this, that is actually pretty funny, because there are several moments here that did genuinely make me laugh. And at first, like, the whole thing does begin with the elements that we have already seen. Like, we saw the little alien character in the supermarket and just eating whatever the little character finds, and then suddenly we also see the character eating a whole bunch of candy and drink a lot of soda and making that giant massive burp. Like, those are things that we have already seen. But then it continues on by introducing us to the villain of Shaun the Sheep Movie, which it is a secret agency that wants to collect aliens and, keep it a part of, like, the secret government, put them in Area 51 and all that kind of stuff. So it's up to Shaun the Sheep and his friends to go and save his new friend. And you see elements where they would go in space, and and that's one thing that I really do admire in here, and I think that's going to be the biggest selling point, is actually regarding the animation, because this animation right here, it is amazing. It's actually really top notch, and some of the best animation that we have seen from Aardman in a long time. I would even, maybe this is a bit an extreme comparison, but I would even say that this could even top what they've already done with Early Man last year. Like, here, you could tell that they want to go far beyond what they've already known with stop motion, and even go beyond the grand scale that they usually go with this. Even also applying a lot of special effects, especially the scenes that you would go and see that they would actually go fly out in space. Also the moment, when you see the bull, over here, suddenly being teleported, and you see it suddenly, it's in the spaceship, or even, the scenes where you do see them flying in space, and they go near the satellite. That's actually really cool, actually. And even the little gag as well, when they ended up scratching the satellite, that was actually pretty funny as well. This is definitely highly admirable stop motion animation, on top of adding in other effects as well. But you could tell that's going to be the main thing. And of course, with Shaun the Sheep Movie, if it's going to be like the first one, then it has to be the main thing, because there's not a lot, there isn't even much dialogue in Shaun the Sheep Movie. It was full on silent from beginning to end, with the exception of characters just making noises. Even the human characters, they don't actually say words. They're just on the side going, just saying those little noises, and that's pretty much it, which I'm sure is definitely quite an easy job when distributing it all around the world, because you don't have to worry about bringing in dubs, or try to find local celebrities to do voiceover work for this. So at least you got that going on. And honestly, overall, I don't know what else really to say, but other than, honestly, this one gave me a better first impression for Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon, and now I feel a lot more optimistic about this movie, and especially a lot of the like the slapstick comedy and the different the different modern jokes that you actually do get, especially with the villains, like the secret base people, especially like this moment right over here. Like, they caught an alien, so the first thing they do is that they bring out the selfie stick and they gotta take a picture. Like, let's be honest, folks. Would you really be that surprised if that would be something that they would legitimately do? I think, honestly, I see this right over here, and it's actually really funny. And on top of that, it's also very cute as well. I mean, one additional cute joke is actually right at the end when Shaun was looking at all the different things that you can eat, and then suddenly the broccoli appears and both of them are like, ugh. Like, you know, that's a joke obviously for the kids, but you know what, it actually does work. It is very charming, it's very cute, it's a lot of fun, and honestly, I feel very optimistic about this. I will say right now though that I know that it will be coming out in October in the UK. I know they're going to be getting it first. As for North America, however, I did hear it's going to be around mid-December that this movie will be released. I don't know if there's any full-on confirmation of that. I wouldn't be surprised if the release date could possibly be delayed for some time until 2020, but honestly, I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Honestly, maybe it might be just a simple, like a simpler animated film than something like we would get with Spies in Disguise. But honestly, this looks like it's going to be very charming. It looks like it's going to be very entertaining, and it looks like it's going to be very funny. So from there, yeah, I'm really excited for Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon, and this trailer, I gotta say, it really works. It's really funny. It's really charming. So it really does work it out for me. So with that said, though, I want to go into the chat wall, and I'm gonna ask, what do you all think about this trailer of Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon? Do you guys think that this trailer was funny? It's entertaining? Are you guys a bit disappointed? Did you not think it was funny? And also, which trailer do you think actually is the best? Is it Spies in Disguise or Shaun the Sheep movie Farmageddon? Let me know what you guys think. Alright, let's see what we got here. Let's see. I am confident that Shaun the Sheep 2 is going to be good. Don't know if I can really say the same for its box office success because it's coming in America the same month as Star Wars 9, Spies in Disguise, and Jumanji 3, and it's not coming in my country. After Pirates, most Aardman movies nowadays seem to make less and less money. I mean, unfortunately, the truth is that, especially from what we are seeing with Missing Link, it's just stop motion films in general are making less and less money. So it's not just Shaun the Sheep. And especially like when you do look at the Shaun the Sheep movie, that barely even made any money at the North American box office. Most of it is in the UK. So in that regard, yeah, I'm not, like, I have no hopes at all for how it's going to go at the box office. For me, I'm just focusing on the movie itself, and I'm just hoping that it will be entertaining and it will be good. All right, so let's see what we got here. This trailer is cute and really hilarious, but I hate to bring the elephant in the room, and this movie is going to flop hard at the American box office. Okay, so, well, we've already talked about that. Okay, anyways, let's move on. This is my first time watching this second trailer, and I think this looks fun and cute. I don't expect this movie to be one of the best animated films of 2019, like where the levels of Toy Story 4 and How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World are, but I expect this movie to be very funny. At least it is more funny, and I'm more excited about it to watch this than Spies in Disguise. Okay, so there is someone who actually does prefer this over Spies in Disguise. Okay, let's see now the next one. After seeing this trailer for Spies in Disguise, this is really refreshing. This stop-motion animation is really good, and the comedy is pretty funny. However, I think that this movie will bomb because of the release date, which is just December. Oh my god, a lot of people want to bring up that this is going to be a bomb. Yes, we know. Like, honestly, I think like, we can all agree at this point that in terms of the American box office, like, when it does come out, and if it is true that I think it's December 13th, if it is going to be released at that time, then yeah, it will be hopeless at the box office. You're barely going to see anyone in there. Like, if you want to watch a movie alone, then just go and watch Shaun the Sheep Movie Farmageddon, because everyone else is going to be busy watching stuff like Frozen 2, Jumanji, or Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, we don't have to keep bringing up the factor of, like, it's going to be a bomb, because trust me, we know. Let's see. The trailer for Shaun the Sheep 2 looks much funnier and more entertaining than Spies in Disguise. Okay. All right, simple comment. Simple, nice. I remember seeing the first Shaun the Sheep movie with my grandma back in the day, and with this trailer, the sequel looks genuinely really cute. The comedy is at the top of its game, the animation is really solid, and the fact that we have a stop-motion sequel alone is honestly so jarring, it's amazing. I will say this. The villain's minions remind me of certain characters from Free Birds. The only difference is that the guys here are actually funny. Yeah, you do bring up a good point. Oh god, freaking Free Birds. Yeah, it is true that they're pretty much dressed up the same way as those people in Free Birds. But yeah, like you said, these guys, their humor is actually hilarious. And this is just from the trailer alone. And on top of that, another comment that you mentioned that is actually very interesting is the fact that this is a sequel. That this is a stop-motion movie that is also a sequel, which is almost mythological, I would say. I'm not going to say that this is... Maybe I've already said this before, but for now, I'm not 100% confident to say that. But the thing is that, yeah, there is a strong chance that, like, this is the first time we would ever see a stop-motion animated sequel. So, honestly, that is an interesting factor. But, yeah, honestly, overall, really impressed with this trailer, and hopefully we will see it pretty soon. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with all these trailers, and now it's time that we're gonna go into some of the news stories. And the next story that I have in here is actually going to be related to Toy Story. Now, I know that it is a pretty popular topic, especially with Toy Story 4 release, and it is true that it does seem like I have been talking about it quite a bit, especially not just in here, but also with my videos, like with my review of Toy Story 4, and then we talked about some news related to Toy Story 4. This one, however, is going to be a little bit more different, though. Instead of talking about Toy Story 4, we got to divide that by 2, and we are going to be talking about Toy Story 2. Because one thing that has made the rounds is that Disney released a newer version of Toy Story 2, and they decided, without telling us, that they removed one scene. So let's go ahead and talk about the casting couch blooper. Now, in case you guys don't necessarily know, yes, as part of a promotion of Toy Story 4, Disney decided to go and release new versions of the previous 3 movies on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. So, of course, they re-released Toy Story, they released Toy Story 2, and they released Toy Story 3. Well, it's not necessarily new versions, but new editions of the movies. So now you can go into the store and you can buy them all over again as part of Toy Story 4, considering that thing is, like, really popular right now. But in the case of Toy Story 2, however, when you do look at that film, when you look at the new version of that movie, they decided to go and remove one of the bloopers. Now, you might remember, if you have seen Toy Story 2, then at the end of the film, during the start of the credits, they would show a compilation of little bloopers. I mean, technically, you can't really say that they're actually bloopers because, I mean, it is animated and stuff like that. But anyways, going back to what I'm talking about, these bloopers basically, they show like the little flub-ups that would happen during the set of Toy Story 2 that... basically imagining if like Woody, Buzz, Jesse, and all these characters are actually actors, and they're in an actual set in a movie and all that kind of stuff. One of these, however, has now been dubbed as the casting couch blooper, where there is a moment where we see Stinky Pete talking with a couple of Barbie dolls. In fact, in my source here in AV Club, they actually did show a little, like they actually put up a YouTube video that does have like the credits and the outtakes. And let's just look at a little bit of that. Let's just see.
Hey, Prospector, how about you?
And so you two are absolutely identical? You know, I'm sure I could get you a part in Toy Story 3.
I'm sorry, are we back? Oh, all right, girls.
So, yeah, and that's just a little bit. That's not the whole thing in its entirety, but basically, this is a little blooper where we see Woody, Jesse, and Bullseye. They're doing their scene, and then Woody goes to the box with the Prospector. Like, this is the part where technically it was revealed, like, the whole plot twist that, oh my god, Stinky Pete is actually the bad guy. But when Woody does turn the box, it actually shows Stinky Pete talking with a couple of Barbie dolls, and him trying to convince them that he can have the Barbie dolls be in Toy Story 3, and then he notices the camera, and then suddenly switches his mind. He was like, well, it's nice talking to you girls. All right, we'll discuss further later. All right, see ya. However, when watching it, then you guys definitely know what the intentions are. Like, the punchline of all this, yeah, I think you know what they're trying to aim for in this situation. And of course, yes, this is related to the hashtag MeToo movement. Since we are in the hashtag MeToo culture, this is something that is pretty much not okay, and Disney decided they're just going to go and completely take it out in its entirety. And when I heard about this news, I saw this, and honestly, me, and surprisingly enough, a grand majority of people who saw this news, we all responded with one thing. Good! Because if you guys do watch my videos, then you may recall a few months ago, I actually did go and review Toy Story 2. And it is an absolutely phenomenal film, and it's absolutely fantastic, and even though, yeah, some could say the animation is a little bit dated, it is a very timeless film, it is a fantastic sequel, and it is an amazing movie in its own right. A great expansion to what was already a phenomenal film with the first Toy Story. So, in the case right over here, when I did watch Toy Story 2 recently for that review, I remember when this one actually appeared. Like, honestly, during the time when I was watching it, I completely forgot about the bloopers, and I forgot that it used to be something that Pixar would often do with their films, like with Monsters, Inc. or with A Bug's Life. Sometimes they would have a little bit of fun, and they would add in those little bloopers. And even as a kid, when I watched Toy Story 2, like, they were fun to go and check out. But recently, when watching that blooper in particular, the only thing in my mind was just, yikes. Like, it really was yikes. It's like, not only did it not age well, but the joke in general, it's just, it was bad. It was bad to the point that you can't even laugh at it anymore. Like, you can't even have that nervous laughter. It's like, oh man, pretty risky of you, Pixar. No, you can't really do that. You know, it's just, you watch this blooper, and it's not really funny, but rather it makes you uncomfortable. And there's also another thing why it's honestly a bit of a good thing why they had to remove it. Like, like, this joke alone is pretty bad enough, but you gotta keep in mind that we are talking about Toy Story 2. So with that said, hold on, just need to go in the beginning. This is directed by John Lasseter. And throughout, like, and you gotta keep in mind, like, all the bloopers, they are happening during the credits. So, of course, the first name that you see here is from John Lasseter. And I'm sure that those of you watching and those of you listening, you guys already know about the whole controversy related to John Lasseter and the things that have been exposed about him and consequently the dark environment that he spreaded not just at Pixar, but throughout the animation industry, like, all around. And from there, like, you gotta keep that in mind. Like, you just saw that name, that this movie is directed by John Lasseter. And then about 3 minutes later, you suddenly get this joke with Stinky Pete trying to do his little casting couch thing with the 2 Barbie dolls. And that is just like that's just salt on an open wound. It's just like, oh God. It's like, you remember, it's like, okay, this is a John Lasseter film, and they would put this joke in a John Lasseter film. That's not just yikes. Now you're at the point where it's like freaking double yikes. So yeah, so that's another reason why, like, yeah, this has gotta go. And honestly, here's the thing. I feel like this is an argument that a lot of people would be talking about this. Like, an argument about removing this is like, oh, we can't really take this away. And like, whenever controversies like this would happen, whenever they would remove a particular scene in a family film, some people, like, normally what would happen is that some people would discuss about how it's going to mess up with the story, how this is going to mess up with the movie, where, like, now it might feel like it might be a little bit dysfunctional because some contexts are pretty much removed. This is not the case here. Because you got to keep in mind, again, this is a blooper that happens during the credit. It doesn't interrupt anything during the flow of the whole movie. Like, this doesn't happen during the actual film itself. This is just an additional side gag that happens during the credits. That's usually the time when people would just walk out. You're not necessarily missing much. You're not missing anything in terms of the context of the whole movie. So in that regard, like, you could pretty much take out all the bloopers and it wouldn't change the whole dynamic of the Toy Story 2 movie. So it is something that it is easily affordable to just remove, and you're not really missing much. You're still gonna get Toy Story 2, even with or without the bloopers in general. So of course, this is just something that you can easily remove, and in this case, you're like, really, there's nothing of value that is actually lost by removing this casting couch blooper. And going back into the arguments that people would try to objectify removing this scene, because like I said before, this is a case that the grand majority of people feel like they're actually okay with removing this scene, more so than usual. But of course, you do have that vocal minority that wants to come in and they're upset of the fact that one little scene that happens during the credits of Toy Story 2 is completely removed. And there are some people that want to try to make a bit of arguments. One of which is actually a bit of a narrative argument that some people say that, well, technically it makes sense to have this scene in Toy Story 2. And of course, like, the whole action here is, you know, the thing is that this whole action here, yeah, it's wrong, it's twisted, but technically, Stinky Pete is the villain. He's supposed to be the bad guy, so of course, he would do something that would be considered bad and nasty, because, yeah, villains can do that. Okay, now I actually do have an argument that you could pretty much put that case to rest. Because technically, the bloopers here are showing the characters as actors. So in that regard, there are no good guys or bad guys. They're just actors working on this movie. So technically, Stinky Pete here is not actually a bad guy. This is not necessarily the same Stinky Pete that we just saw in the Toy Story 2 movie. What we see here is Stinky Pete, the actor that's acting in the role in Toy Story 2. That's the thing that we are seeing here. So technically, we're not seeing the same Stinky Pete that we just saw in Toy Story 2. So honestly, that argument right there is just, that doesn't necessarily work. But then you, of course, have the argument regarding censorship. That people are upset that they're removing one little scene in here and they're crying out that this is wrong because this is censorship. That technically they could do something like this because it's a product of its time. If we're just going to be hiding things that, nowadays is not okay, then we might as well hide everything. You know, like, they try to make that kind of argument. Okay, now if you want to make that argument, honestly, I understand if you want to talk about stuff like the historical significance regarding old cartoons from the 1940s that depict African Americans in a very stereotypical way. Like, that I understand, because back then, that's how people would normally view black people. Like, there is a bit of that historical context. On that regard, I actually do understand, because that was the mentality back then. Here, however, with Toy Story 2, you gotta keep in mind, it's not really that old of a movie. It's only 20 years old. It was released back in 1999. And I think we can all agree, there is no time period whatsoever where this whole casting couch thing is considered okay. In fact, I could even make the argument that even back in 1999, this was heavily looked down upon, considering one of the biggest scandals during that time was the whole Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky scenario. Like, maybe some of you might remember how that thing was, like, really taken seriously, and people were heavily calling out for Bill Clinton's impeachment for that. So if it was not okay back then it's not okay here, regardless if it's nowadays or if it was back in 1999. So either way, that argument, like, you could pretty much lay it down to rest, because there is no time period where this whole casting couch thing is considered okay. And also, I just want to add a little bit of a side note. For those people who call out censorship, that they disapprove of this kind of removal because, oh, it is censorship and all that kind of stuff. Now, this doesn't necessarily reflect upon anyone who does, or everyone who says that. You know, this is not everybody who claims censorship, but I can guarantee you, most people who claim censorship over stuff like this, they are massive hypocrites. Because those are the kinds of people that they would cry out censorship and they would cry out freedom of speech over stuff like Toy Story 2, or like whenever you would see a stereotypical depiction of a person of color and all that kind of stuff. Yet they would also be the same kind of people that would be perfectly okay with completely censoring an episode of Arthur because it showed a same-sex marriage with Mr. Ratburn. So I'm just saying, nowadays, that whole argument of censorship and all that stuff, it's starting to become something like a case of boy who cried wolf, where it becomes less and less believable, and you're starting to question the individual who calls that out, because chances are they're most likely a hypocrite doing so, and it's not really a case of what they say like, they don't actually do believe in the whole aspect of freedom of speech or censorship. So I'm just laying it out there that nowadays, the whole cry for censorship is really questionable. But overall, yes, I really do feel like this whole casting couch blooper, it should die in a fire, and I think it will improve the quality of watching Toy Story 2, and, like, you would feel a little less guilty. And I mean, like, some people say it's censorship, but not necessarily. They're not completely erasing they're not erasing history. That is a false statement right over there. I mean, they're still giving John Lasseter its directorial credit. They're just removing a scene that nowadays, it just doesn't, you know, it is looked down upon heavily nowadays, and especially with the factor that it is a John Lasseter movie, this thing has no right to be here. And I think this is not only best for Disney's case, but also for John Lasseter's case as well. So, like you have John Lasseter's directing credits, and then suddenly you see this scene, and you're immediately reminded about John Lasseter's dark past. So I think it's for the best for all parties that this whole scene needs to die in a fire. So, with that said and done, I would like to go and ask the chat wall right over here, what do you guys think about Disney removing this particular blooper from their future releases, including DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, and digital releases? Do you think it's a good idea? Are you guys opposed to this? Let me know what you guys think. Alright, let's see. I don't care if this was removed. For one, I agree the joke aged horribly, and second, the bloopers weren't part of the main film. Heck, the bloopers weren't even part of the original theatrical release. They were added during the Christmas release, similar to Endgame getting deleted scenes added back during its final weekend. Good point, good point. Let's see. That was alright. While it was the middle time that takes that blooper away for the new version of Toy Story 2, it should be released only on Blu-ray ASAP. Are there edited changes for the blooper, or just keep it as unchanged? I just listed extinguished outtakes by Prefuse 73. And also, one thing I would like to add, I mean, technically, like, considering that I fished, like, this is still on YouTube, technically, like, if people really need it, then, like, you could just check it out on YouTube, or you can go and find, like, the older releases. I actually do know that I have, that particular blooper. I actually do have the, hold on a sec. I do have the special edition of Toy Story 2 on Blu-ray, which I think it's the first time that it did get released on Blu-ray, and I know that it has it right over here. And like I said, they did actually release all 3 Toy Story films, like a new version on Blu-ray as part of a promotion for Toy Story 4, so yeah, they're already onto it, so... I don't know, like, is it gonna be enough for me to, like, change things up with my Blu-ray? Maybe not, but, you know, it is very tempting, you know? If all the bonus features are still intact and more on the new version, then, like, maybe it would make me reconsider. Maybe, like, it would be time to upgrade that, who knows? Okay, let's see now. Oh, what's next? Removing Pepe Le Pew from Looney Tunes? They tried that with Speedy Gonzales because they thought it was racist against Mexico, and yet Mexicans love Speedy. I mean, like, yeah, you can jump to conclusions about that. I mean, that's an entirely different case in general, and, like, that's up to Warner Brothers. But again, this thing had to be removed. Like, this was just a little extra addition. This is an entirely different case. Alright, let's see. Let's see. If you ask me, I think Stinky Pete and Lotso really have one thing in common, John F. and Lasseter. Well, I mean, Toy Story in general has a lot in common with John Lasseter in that regard, so it doesn't change a whole lot. Okay. Let's see now. Yeah, even with Lasseter's involvement, I don't see this as a big deal. In the original context, the casting couch gag seems rather crude and plain stupid, but yeah, in this day and age, I can see how it would now be seen as uncomfortable, and I completely understand where it's coming from. Yeah, exactly. You just need, yeah, it's just that there are some things that don't necessarily age well, and again, it's for the best. Let's see. I was worried about the MeToo movement with Disney, or even past kids media in general, especially with Toy Story 2. I worry whether or not this will cause a ban for Who Framed Roger Rabbit to be banned from future releases because of the way Jessica Rabbit is designed. It's why Miss Bellum was removed from Powerpuff Girls 2016. I really don't think so, because that's an entirely different case in general. Again, like what other companies would do, that doesn't mean another company would do the same thing. And in the case of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like, you don't see, like, honestly, that's something I've never heard of. You don't really see people being angry against Jessica Rabbit. In fact, there are a lot of people who highly praise Jessica Rabbit nowadays. Not as a sex symbol, but a lot of people actually do look Jessica Rabbit highly as an asexual figure. That, you know, it's very rare that we would find any fictional characters that would be openly asexual, with maybe the exception of SpongeBob. But in the case of Jessica Rabbit, a lot of people did theorize that she actually is asexual with her relationship with Roger. So from there, Jessica Rabbit is not an issue at all, and I don't think Disney would look down upon Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Alright, I think with all that said and done, I think we are pretty much good, and Well, yes, we can all celebrate for the death of this stupid catching couch gag. So now we can watch Toy Story 2 feeling a little less guilty. Alright, let me take my water. Okay. Now, with that said and done, we are going to go now and jump onto our next story. And with this one, we actually got a brand new show that's going to be coming out that's going to be bringing back a popular franchise from the 80s. And I'm going to be very honest, considering that we do live in the age where studios are pretty much bringing back so many franchises, I was wondering when this one is going to be making a bit of a comeback. However, it seems that this week they have made an announcement, and most of the fans actually do seem very happy about it. So let's go ahead and talk about the grand return of Gremlins. Yes, Warner Brothers has officially revealed that they are going to be making an adult-oriented animated series that's going to be a prequel to the 1984 cult film Gremlins, which is going to be called Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai. And if I may go and read from my source here in The Hollywood Reporter, it states, the series is set in Shanghai in the 1920s and reveal the story of how 10-year-old Sam Wing, who is the future shop owner Mr. Wing in the 1984 feature film, met the young Mogwai called Gizmo. Along with a teenage street thief named Elle, Sam and Gizmo take a perilous journey through the Chinese countryside, encountering and sometimes battling... Ooh, excuse me. Anyways, where was I? Yes. Encountering and sometimes battling colorful monsters and spirits from Chinese folklore. On their quest to return Gizmo to his family and uncover a legendary treasure, they are pursued by a power-hungry industrialist and his growing army of evil gremlins. In terms of the people that will be working on this, they got Sed Chun of Gotham, who's going to be the writer of the series, and they got Amblin Television, who is actually the company that did work on Gremlins. Well, Amblin Entertainment, they helped create Gremlins. They got Daryl Frank, Justin Falvey, and Sam Register. They will be on board as executive producers, in which they will also be doing that for the Animaniacs reboot as well. And on top of that, we also got a few other people that will be producing this as well. We got Robot Chicken's Brendan Hay and also Coraline's Dan Kroll that will be involved with this. And it even adds that, as it is typically the case with reboots, it helps to have the original producers attached to the new takes, and such in the case of Gremlins, as Warner's and Amblin produced the 1984 and 1990 features. So, like I said, I was wondering when is it going to be the time that we are going to see a new Gremlins, because at this point, it would not surprise me whatsoever if we would suddenly have, a Gremlins reboot with CGI Gremlins popping out everywhere. You know, you would think that they would do that. I mean, we've got reboots of, Jumanji, of Ghostbusters, of, Jurassic Park, and all these films. When is Gremlins going to have a turn? But in this case here, they decided to go with a bit of a different direction, and it seems like something that fans are genuinely happy about, because they really are adding something that is brand new, and something that's a little bit more unique, going in a direction that's a little bit more different than where Gremlins would usually go, but you still have a bit of that familiarity. Of course, you got Gizmo that's still going to be there as a star, and then of course you got the evil Gremlins that are going to go and cause mayhem, considering that technically they can be perceived as evil cartoon characters, where basically it's like if you bring the Looney Tunes characters onto the real world and they decided to become serial killers. That's basically the whole premise and the whole charm of Gremlins, and why it has such a massive cult following to this day. And if you don't believe me, that is especially the case with the sequel. But going back to what they're trying to do with here, what seems very unique is the whole prequel element, where they are heavily setting this in China, and they decided to have Mr. Wing be the star of the whole series along with Gizmo. And from there, I do feel like they're gonna go in a more action-packed oriented direction, where it really does remind me a lot of shows like Jackie Chan Adventures or Shaolin Showdown, or even movies like Kung Fu Panda, where they're gonna be heavily based on Chinese culture, Chinese mythology. Like, they're really going to go into that realm in order to go and tell its story, and in order to go and develop its entire world, where of course there is going to be that whole mythical element, but of course you do have a little bit of that familiarity with characters like Gizmo and then the Gremlins as well. So there is that extra uniqueness to it where it can stand as its own thing, but also you got the additional franchise element. I don't know how they're going to pull off with the whole villain aspect with the industrialist and his army of evil gremlins. Like, I didn't know, like, one guy can, like, collaborate with gremlins to go and rule the world and all that kind of dumb stuff, but it will be an interesting take. And especially the fact that it is going to be a more adult-oriented show, more in the veins of stuff like The Simpsons or BoJack Horseman or Rick and Morty. It is good to know that that's going to be something that it will tell us that they are not holding back in regards of Gremlins, that they want to stay true to the tone of the movies, considering that the Gremlins films are a bit more adult-oriented as well. Like, there are a lot more comedies, but they're not necessarily kids' films if you have actually seen them. So, in the case of Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai, the fact that it is going to be leaning a little bit more towards adult, it does give me a bit of trust that Warner Brothers and Amblin are going to be staying true to the whole Gremlins series. However, there is one thing that I will say that I am worried about, and it does give me a lot of doubt regarding this whole Gremlins series. And it's not necessarily the show itself, funny enough, but rather where it's going to be released, because in that regard, that's where I feel like it might be its Achilles heel. Because one thing I didn't actually state yet is actually the fact that Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai is not going to be released on television, but rather on Warner Brothers' upcoming streaming service. And yes, that's the problem right over there. Yes, we're getting another streaming service from a completely different studio. I mean, it's already enough that we have plenty of different streaming services as it is, with stuff like Amazon, with Netflix, with Hulu. But now, we are also going to get the addition of other streaming services coming from different companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony. And even if some of them, like Universal or Sony, I don't know if they have announced theirs yet, but I mean, at this point, it's going to be inevitable. Soon we're going to be at the point where there are going to be so many different streaming services that it's going to pretty much break the entire foundation of streaming services in general. You might see the memes, or you might see people talking about it on social media, about the dangers of having too many streaming services, that it's just going to be encouraging people to go back to pirating content. So on that regard, that's where I feel like is going to be the danger of Secrets of the Mogwai. It's not necessarily I don't trust the show itself, that it could stand well on its own. It's just the fact that it's what it's standing on, its platform, is that I'm worried about. I don't know if it's going to be really stable enough for something that it could stay. I feel like it would be probably best to keep it safe, to either just put it on television or you just put it on Netflix or something like that, try to make sure that it has its best performance instead of really pursuing to go out and make your own streaming service, because that's still a bit of an iffy territory right over there. Now, of course, I could be wrong, and Warner Brothers could actually create a very successful streaming service, and Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai could actually turn out to be very successful. It's just that I just feel a bit worried and doubtful with the amount of streaming services that we're going to have in the near future, and with Warner Brothers chipping in with theirs, is it really going to be enough to sustain their business? Is it going to be something that will be helping them, or is it going to be something that will be screwing them over? At that point, I honestly don't know. But in terms of this series right over here, I can definitely see this as something that fans will definitely highly enjoy, and it can breathe some new life onto Gremlins. Now, the release date is stated that it will be released sometime this year, somewhere in the fourth quarter, or I think it's going to be the streaming service that's going to be released in the fourth quarter, but we should be expecting Gremlins to return soon. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall and I want to know what you guys think about Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai. Is this a show that you guys want to go and check out? Are you guys a bit doubtful about it? Will this be enough to make you go and get Warner Brothers streaming service? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, let's see now. Technically, Warner Brothers already has a streaming service, like their DC streaming service, but let's be honest here, that this has so far been a disaster, especially considering Swamp Thing is getting canceled after its first season. Yeah, and that's also another thing. You do bring up the DC streaming service, and already you can tell with that thing, Warner Brothers doesn't seem like they know what they're really doing when it comes to handling streaming services, especially with something that seems like very niche. Like, this is just DC content. I don't know what the fridge is gonna happen when they're gonna release their entire Warner Brothers streaming service. That's the thing where I do feel like is a little iffy there. Alright, let's see. I absolutely love The Gremlins. Definitely my favorite movie from the 80s. It's creepy, but definitely my favorite. This might be a live-action hybrid, but I think I prefer it to be more animated because, let's be honest, the CGI in the 1984 film is kind of disturbing and very dated. At this point, we are getting to a point where cinema and TV is almost dead and streaming services are more popular. I don't know. A lot of people say the same thing when television was invented, so, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, don't worry. Let's see. Yeah, this might be a live-action hybrid. No. It's not a hybrid. This is all animated, so don't you worry about that. Let's see now. What else do we got? This is going to be like the live-action video game crash in 1983, where there would be too many game consoles being released. I don't think that's really the problem. I don't think it's the factor that there are too many consoles. But anyways, that one is another, that's like an entirely different subject in itself. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm definitely, it definitely has the potential, and I'm surprised it takes this long to get a Gremlins TV show. Just out of curiosity, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Gremlins have a TV show? Didn't they already had one before? I don't know, maybe it was just me, but, it would seem, if that was the case, that there was never a Gremlins TV show or a Gremlins animated series, that would be something that would shock me, especially since at the time, making family-friendly animated shows based on R-rated movies, it was honestly common back then, like, making shows based on RoboCop or Terminator or whatever. Like, they would do those things, no problem. They're not that shy to go and try to market R-rated films for kids. Okay, let's see now. That a maybe. I feel like they shouldn't put it on the streaming service. Warner Brothers already have a DC streaming service, so maybe they should have put it onto television networks, then it would have worked out. But again, we could be wrong on that case, so it is something that we will have to wait and see. Alright, I think with that said, though, I think we should be all good regarding the factor of this movie. So, what the fridge am I saying? Not movie, but the TV show. Alright, so with that said and done, it is now time that we shall jump into the grand finale. And oh boy, do I got a big one for you today. In fact, this could debatably be the biggest movie news of the week. And ironically enough, a bit of a continuation from one of the stories from last week. You might remember in the last episode of the podcast where me and Cellspecs actually discuss about the potential of having Melissa McCarthy play as Ursula in the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. Well, it seems like this week we actually got some confirmations regarding other people that are going to be playing a part in that film. Starting in the week, during the beginning of the week, we saw that Jacob Tremblay has been confirmed to play as Flounder, Ariel's best friend, and we also got Awkwafina playing the role of Scuttle, which you may know is the crazy bird who is considered as Ariel's land expert. So yeah, Awkwafina is gonna go and take that part, and she has to be responsible for telling Ariel that a fork is a dinglehopper. But then... But then I coughed. No, that's not the thing. Okay, but then suddenly we got one casting that really got a lot of people talking, and it definitely is the biggest one of the movie, because Disney has confirmed they have gotten their Little Mermaid. Yes, folks, may I introduce you to the live-action Ariel, who is also known as Halle Bailey. Yes, folks, Disney has hired Halle Bailey to play the part of Ariel in their upcoming live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. Now, for those of you who don't necessarily know who Halle Bailey is, she is actually a singer and an actress. Not necessarily a prominently or a large one, but she actually does work that and is getting pretty successful in her career. You might remember Halle Bailey, where she is actually a singer as part of the R&B duo Chloe x Halle, in which it also states here from my source in the rap that most people would know Halle from the times she and her sister Chloe sang America the Beautiful at this year's Super Bowl. But also, as an actress, she has starred in episodes of the show Grownish. Now, Rob Marshall, who is the director of the film, actually made a statement about casting Halle Bailey by stating, "After an extensive search, it was abundantly clear that Halle possesses that rare combination of spirit, heart, youth, innocence, and substance, plus a glorious singing voice, all intricate qualities necessary to play this iconic role." And one more thing that it has been announced related to this is actually the fact, let me just go and check it out. Yeah, it's right over here. This little element in this rap article, as it states, production is anticipated to begin in early 2020, so there is a strong chance that we will be seeing maybe a 2021 release date or at the latest 2022. Additional announcements regarding The Little Mermaid are expected in the coming weeks. That, or I probably think that maybe that means that we'll be hearing a lot more about it during the D23 Expo. I don't know. But that is the main thing. It's the fact that we've officially got our Ariel, and it is Halle Bailey. Okay, so with that said and done, I want to go and start things off by addressing the elephant in the room. The one that kind of makes this whole argument or this whole discussion a bit controversial. It's the fact that, yes, Halle Bailey is black, and that in the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, Ariel would be black. Now, one thing I just would like to say is that if you have a serious problem, or if you are frustrated or upset of the fact that they hired a black girl to play as Ariel, shut the hell up! Because that comment is factually racist. Now, if you are really that angry about it, you are either a racist or you are uneducated in the subject of why issues like whitewashing and blackface are considered a serious problem. Now, if it is the latter, then honestly, I wouldn't blame you right there. Then, I would ask you to please go and do some research and understand about the problems why whitewashing is bad and why blackface is bad. And by the way, before anyone would continue, no, there is no such thing as blackwashing, and there is no such thing as white genocide. If you truly do believe in those things, then that means you need to go and up the dosage on your pills. So again, if you are upset of the fact that there is going to be a black Ariel in the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, if you have an issue regarding Ariel's skin tone, then whatever opinion that you have there, it becomes null and void, it becomes invalid, and you are no longer qualified to enter in this discussion. So please go in the corner, and yes, everyone has the right to label you as a racist for saying that, because nobody cares about your freaking feelings. Now, with that said, there is one more comment that I would like to state regarding the race of Halle Bailey playing the role as Ariel. I'll be very honest, in that regard, I would much rather have a person of color playing the role of a white Disney princess and delivering some actual talent than I would rather have that than to have a white girl playing a white Disney princess and delivering no talent. Just like what we got with Elle Fanning as Maleficent, and especially Emma Watson as Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, did I say that right? Yeah, Elle Fanning in Maleficent and Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast. Okay, yeah. So I just want to lay it down there. If sacrificing the accuracy of the character's race means that that's what it requires in order for the character or the actress to have talent, then you know what? So be it. Okay, so I think we've pretty much washed our hands with the whole race aspect right over there. So now we can get into the actual intellectual portion about this casting right over here. Now we can actually have an actual talk about this. So honestly, when seeing this casting of bringing in Halle Bailey as Ariel, I do feel like Disney is making a bit of a gamble. Again, this is not about race at all, but let's be honest, not many of us really know who Halle Bailey is. Unless you're someone who's a huge fan of her music, or if you're a huge fan of Grownish, like if you listen to a lot of Chloe X Haley, or if you do watch a lot of Grownish, then you're probably very familiar about her. But let's be honest, for many of us, and this is the case, I'll be honest, this is also the case with me, this is my first time really hearing about Halle Bailey. You know, this is not necessarily a big name star in that regard. So, of course, it is pretty risky giving her a giant responsibility of playing a highly iconic Disney role, which usually those would be reserved for big name celebrities, just like in Aladdin, the genie is played by Will Smith, or even like in I'm trying to think of something, or like in Maleficent, for example, that role would be reserved for Angelina Jolie. So it is a bit of a gamble, but then again, I do understand why they want to do it, because not too long ago, Disney did take that risk, and it actually paid off very well. I think I understand the reason why they would want to bring someone like Halle Bailey. It is mainly because they want to try to get another Naomi Scott. They want to try to have another breakthrough performance that blows everyone's expectations, like, holy crap, this is my introduction to this actress, and she is absolutely phenomenal. Because say what you will about the remake of Aladdin. Yes, it is absolutely pointless. It is nearly a shot-for-shot remake and absolutely inferior to the animated film. But the best thing that came out of that is Naomi Scott. Because let's be honest, beforehand, she wasn't necessarily all that well known. At the most, people recognized her as one of the Power Rangers in the 2017 movie, and for the most part, that was pretty much it. Maybe people might know her for that one Disney Channel original movie, but not really. But then suddenly, Aladdin came in, and it blew a lot of people away. Even for many critics who are very doubtful regarding the Aladdin remake, they really did appreciate the contribution that Naomi Scott did. That she had an amazing singing voice, like her talent was definitely impeccable there. She was great as an actress, and she successfully managed to bring new life onto an iconic Disney princess, which in that case was actually Jasmine. And that's what they want to do here. They're hoping to achieve the same kind of breakthrough hit with Halle Bailey. Now, keep in mind, and I might have already said this before, that, like, with Halle Bailey, she has a much bigger responsibility than Naomi Scott, because the thing is, when you look at Aladdin, Naomi Scott isn't necessarily the main star of the whole movie. That, of course, is reserved for Aladdin. Like, Naomi Scott was just playing as, like, the love interest. In here, however, Halle Bailey is the Little Mermaid. She is the star of the movie, so she has a lot more responsibility, and a lot of this, you know, a lot of how the movie is going to perform financially and critically will be in the hands of her. I've stated this last week with Cell Specs, but the two most important castings are going to be Ariel and Ursula, because that's going to be the ones that people are going to be highly anticipated to go and check out. And with Halle Bailey, even though I'm not all that familiar, like I've had heard a little bit of her singing before, and honestly, on that regard, like her singing talents, I'm not that worried at all. I'm sure she can go and deliver an epic version of Part of Your World, and it's gonna be absolutely amazing, and it'll be something that will blow people away. But in terms of her acting, I'm honestly not all that familiar, and I just want to say, if you guys listening or watching this, if you have actually seen Grown-ish, then let me know how you guys think she is as an actress. That would give me a good idea of like how she could go and perform in The Little Mermaid. I mean, I will admit, like, so far with the movie that we have here, considering that they do have a lot of the people from Mary Poppins Returns involved, especially with director Rob Marshall, and it even states that the writer, David McGee, is also, like, the writer, and he actually has credits for Mary Poppins Returns, and not to mention, of course, like, Lin-Manuel Miranda is involved with the music, so of course, like, you got a little bit of Mary Poppins Returns interjected into this, and I really do feel like, technically, among the camp of the, like, these Disney reboots and stuff like that, Mary Poppins Returns is definitely one of the better ones out there, almost up in the same leagues as The Jungle Book. So, it does give me a little bit of hope, but for me, I do feel like it is going to be a bit of a wait and see. Again, it will be a bit of a gamble, but if it pays off, then I'm sure it's going to pay off very well, and Disney is going to have a massive hit on their hands. So in that regard, I really do wish Halle Bailey the best of luck in her performance. I'm sure that's going to be a very important and pivotal moment in her career. So honestly, let's just hope for the best, honestly. Like, if we have no choice that we're going to have a live action remake, then let's just hope that it will at least be good, and that Halle Bailey will be able to bring new life to Ariel in a way that will make us fall in love with her all over again. You know, that's all I'm asking. I mean, for me, of course, as a Disney fan, it would be for the best that maybe we should just cancel this all together and just re-release the original animated film in theaters. That would be very nice, but if we're gonna have it, then you guys better not mess this up. So, again, we don't necessarily have an official release date. They might be starting this early next year, but overall, we'll just have to wait and see. And again, best of luck to Halle Bailey. Alright, so now with that said, I want to go and ask you guys, what do you all think about Halle Bailey as Ariel? Is this a casting choice that you approve of? Do you not approve of? What do you think about all this? Let me know what you think. Oh boy, this is gonna get interesting. Okay, let's see. I guess this is all right for that. I barely think Halle Bailey will play as Ariel ASAP. I barely hope she will get good auditions to say along with a transcript and even some musical songs, I think. I'll be more hyped a little bit. I might go see this very soon. Okay. Let's see now. I'm actually okay with an African-American girl playing Ariel. I think it's pretty cool and unique. Halle Bailey is a beautiful woman, and she will make an outstanding performance in the remake. And let's make sure that Disney isn't racist and make Halle bleach her skin to be white. And also, wouldn't you say Halle Bailey is a beautiful lady, AniMat? I think she's gorgeous. Oh yeah. Honestly, she's a beautiful girl. She actually does look very nice. One comment that I would like to say though, and I don't want to sound bad or anything like that. It's just in many of the photos that I've seen with Halle Bailey, at least when it's gonna be time to be Ariel, can you please make your eyebrows a little bit more prominent? I don't know if it's just me or maybe it's some of the pictures, but there's a part of me that does feel a little bit annoyed that there are some pictures of Halle Bailey where it looks like she doesn't even have eyebrows whatsoever. I don't know, maybe like it's most likely just me where it just seems weird, like when people just don't have eyebrows whatsoever. It's like how do you feel? It's like, is this guy okay? I was like, how do you feel? I don't know. He has no eyebrows. It's hard to read faces when you have no idea how hard it is to read faces without eyebrows. So that's one thing I ask. It's like, make your eyebrows a little bit more prominent, Halle, please, and then we'll be good to go. But other than that, and absolutely, yes, she is definitely a gorgeous girl and definitely has the looks that would be qualified for a Disney princess. Okay. I do apologize, and if I do offend anyone with that eyebrows comment, then I sincerely apologize. I'll just lay it out right there, just in case. Let's see now. Mermaids are mythical creatures. Where is it written that they're only white? That's like Jeffrey Katzenberg's, everybody knows mermaids are only blondes, broken logic. They can... excuse me, just need to clear my throat. They can be any color you want them to be. Remember when the Broadway show did the same thing? What about Toni Braxton as Belle, or Brandy and Keke Palmer as Cinderella? It doesn't matter unless the character's race and or nationality is vitally important to who they are, like Mulan has to be Chinese. Yeah, good point. You do bring up a good point. I mean, the thing is that if race isn't an issue, then you should have no problem with Ariel being black. Because the thing is that at the end of the day, it is just a movie. And if you really are upset of the fact that a Disney princess is not going to be the correct race, if she's not going to be white, then honestly, the problem is not the movie. The problem is just you. That's the thing. And again, I bet, honestly, I highly encourage that you should go and check out the issues regarding whitewashing and blackface and why those are considered real issues. Because really, if you're going to be coming in, like, getting angry about, like, oh, Ariel can't be black, then it makes you look like a freaking idiot. Okay, let's see now. What else do we got here? Let's see, did I read this comment? Just gotta let me see now. I don't have a problem with this as long as the actress is able to act and sing, and then her race shouldn't matter. But of course, SJWs? What are you talking about? SJWs will have issues with anything and everything. It's not SJWs who have a problem with this. Are you freaking? Why are you saying that it's SJWs who have a problem with the fact that she's black? It's the opposite, dude. It's the people who are against SJWs who are getting all pissed off. Okay, honestly, on that regard, it's obviously clear that you have no idea what you're talking about when bringing up SJWs, dude. Either that or, like, if you maybe you didn't write the right thing, and, like, I'll understand that, but honestly, dude, yeah, this is not an SJW problem. This is not something that SJWs are angry about. It's the dumber people who are angry about this. I'll go and read, one more comment that we have here. Let's see. I was surprised to hear this. I'm not familiar with Halle Bailey's works, but I'm just gonna give it a wait and see attitude and see how she performs as Ariel. The only thing I was surprised to hear is the cast. Is that they cast Bailey instead of Zendaya. But overall, I'll be fine with this and see how she performs. Yeah, exactly. Like, even I will admit, like, I was expecting maybe they're gonna have Zendaya play as Ariel, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And again, they decide to go with a lesser known actress in the hopes that maybe they'll go and create like a breakthrough star with this one. And with all that said, I think we should pretty much be all done with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And man, what a wild ride this was! But I just want to say thank you all so much for listening, and thank you all so much for watching this. It has definitely been awesome, and let's hope for next week we will definitely have more crazy adventures going on. We're gonna have more crazy stories to go and talk about in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see you later, dudes!